Okay, if you're a fan of horticulture and you're a fan of legitimate physical business, then you're going to love this episode. This episode was all about Chris Lucas, the co-founder of Hello Plants. He came on the Flypath podcast and was interviewed by me, Tom Barclay, and we had a really fun time. But this is his second appearance on the Flypath podcast. His first was in a podcast studio. The second, this one, was shot at the HQ, at the Hello Plants headquarters and their main warehouse. So it was really fun. We were walking through the entire warehouse. He showed us physical plants. He showed us all the plants that, made him the multimillionaire that he is today, and all the stories he shared. This was all about how his business actually operates, right? So the one before was all about how he started his business, like how he came up with the idea for the viral tutu and everything like that he wears in his advertisements. If you grew up around the time that he was running his campaigns, you would know about this. And how he pushes it forward now, so how he sells his product, how he actually ships it out the door, all the logistics behind everything he does, and much, much more information, including his everyday carry. What does he carry in a day? And you'd be surprised by what he carries, because I don't think it could fit in a pocket. But enough said. I really hope you enjoy this. So you can stream this on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever else you enjoy your podcasts. And if you like it, I would really appreciate if you rate the show on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and like as well. And then follow us on Instagram at the Flypath Pod. You'll be notified about our future posts, and you'll be able to see behind the scenes, stories, cool information, what we're editing, deadlines. So if you want a podcast to watch during 2024, I highly recommend the Flypath podcast. And I'm going to leave it here. So please enjoy and leave your thoughts in the comment section. Buckle up, you're watching the Flypath podcast. I would love to. I would love to get another big look at this place.
Come into our shed.
Oh yeah, 100%. I remember this from last time. This is where the magic happens.
Yeah. So what happens here is that it's early in the week now, but by tomorrow morning, this whole aisle up the middle here will be chock-a-block with plants.
Just like it was last time.
Yeah. And then they'll split those plants for orders. And they'll go over on that side, and everything over there you see over there is all sold and waiting to be delivered. Yeah. And then the balance of it all goes into stock.
It never stops. Well, question: how are you bringing the workflow? Right, is you put the plants on a pallet, or do you put the plants on this?
Oh, they go out on the trolleys. Big stuff goes on a pallet.
Yep, come through.
Here's another shipment of Miss Muffets here.
Awesome.
See this? That's another shipment of the Miss Muffets.
Right, and is this on a pallet jack or a forklift?
That'll go on a forklift now. I've got a little electric forklift that goes through the store.
Have you ever had any accidents?
No.
Nah? Lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. All right, so wind, that would be a big issue. How do you deal with that?
Things blow over, and then when it stops, we pick them back up.
Yeah, and make them nice and everything like that. Topiarizing, now that's a word I do not understand.
Topiarizing is shaping a plant, and it's very fashionable. The most popular sort of topiary at the moment is a topiary ball, but you've got like a ball on a stick.
Right.
You've got you've got spirals, which you tend to pay a lot of money for, because like when I trim up spirals, I go nearly mad. You need to charge lots of money because
I mow the lawn and I go mad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's the easiest job ever. Let's go take a look.
Yeah, let's go look at some topiary. So this is our processing area, and there'd be no other retail nursery with an order processing area this size.
Yeah, it's huge. And I would love to understand like the actual workflow part. So they come here, and then their truck comes in here, I'd imagine?
Yeah, well, it really starts upstairs in the office. You've got 3 people processing orders.
Yep.
And then working out what's here and what they've got to buy from elsewhere. And then they're processing or sending it out. Then a logistics guy controls the truck. Right. And he sends the truck out to pick up all of the orders and tells them he has to be here before 4:30 when he closes and things like that. So we've got a chap out on the road picking up stock today, and he'll pick up at retail value maybe $50,000 worth of plants today.
Wow!
And today's a big day for pickups, and then that'll come back, and then early in the morning they'll bring it in here and start splitting it.
And early in the morning, how early are we talking?
6:30, 7 o'clock.
6:30. Honestly, I was expecting earlier with the amount of plants you deliver.
I'd like them to start earlier, but 6 or 7. They sleep in.
That's obviously, yeah. But what time do you end? What time does this place close? 5? 5:30?
Well, no. Last night they were here till about 7:30.
7:30.
Yeah. They were cleaning it up, ready to get the new.
But traffic's not too bad.
Yeah.
Right. So, quick plug. Where are we right now?
We're going out into the loading area here.
Yeah.
And this is where orders are assembled, and then like that on that stacker there, that'll be an order, and these are all orders around here.
Right.
And the orders are assembled, like that'll be an order here ready to go out.
So process-wise, you've got assembled and delivered at the end.
Yeah.
So what would you call it? So do you call it order, assembled, what is it?
Well, so what you've got is you've got the orders area where they process the orders and get them ready. Then down here, they call it splitting in there.
Splitting.
Yeah, and then here is pulling.
Pulling
And loading.
Pulling and loading. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And assembling is at the front. So you said before?
Assembling is in here.
So it's all very organized.
Yeah,
and
it's
to the
highly
point.
organized. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, cool. This place is huge. And how many vans are we on now? I believe you said 3 last time, didn't you?
We've actually, including my little van, I've got 6 of these big vans like this.
Right. The fully wrapped, customized,
Yeah.
hello tutu all over it.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Right.
And then I've got only really one truck. I've got one big truck on the road.
Yep.
I've got 6 of these vans, and these vans come in 2 sizes. One of them is virtually, I've got 3 of them which are extra big vans, and then I've got a little tiny van.
Cool. Very cool. Awesome. Yeah, I would ask for a tour, but I feel like...
And these are actually, these vans, I believe that these vans are our #1 form of advertising.
I can see why. There it is.
Yeah.
Go right, I gotta see. Go right next to it. I'm gonna see the change. The glow up. Look at that. Yeah, no, hell yeah. Now, where do you keep the tutu? Is it in a vault somewhere?
No, it's just in a cupboard up there.
You keep something that valuable just laying around?
Yeah.
100%. Well, I want to know...
And this is topiary here. These are Japanese box balls, and they're hard to buy. So I actually grew these ones here in the nursery. And because they're hard, some things that are hard to get, we grow ourselves.
Hard to get, but easy to sell.
Yeah,
right?
That's right, yeah.
Exactly. Another question. I'd imagine you don't have a pair of shears in your back pocket. So I'd love to know, what's your everyday carry? Like mine is a wallet, phone, sunglasses.
Yeah.
What do you carry?
A wallet, a phone,
Usual stuff, keys?
and a couple of sets of keys.
This might sound a bit weird, but a lot of people are interested in that. Like
Really?
when I started in, like, I guess you can call it, I don't know, like OCD or being super organized and stuff like that, I used to be super obsessed with what I carried because I didn't want to waste any space.
Oh, right.
You know? And now, it's the same thing, phone, wallet, keys, because we don't have time anymore.
Yeah.
You know? So some people have really interesting stuff. I was expecting you to bring out a full, like, secateurs or something.
Actually, the one thing, if I was going anywhere,
Sure.
I carry an enormous notepad.
Enormous note or sketch pad?
Yeah, sketch pad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Okay.
my...
For the garden designs.
Well, even if I was coming over to your place to talk about advertising, I'd have one of those because I find the best way to express an idea is to draw the idea.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a whiteboard guy, so if you come over to Sydney,
Right.
whiteboard. There we go.
Well, I normally carry, at the moment I'm using a big one about this big butcher's paper, and I go through doing garden designs and talking to people about different ideas.
Yeah.
I go through 2 or 3 pads a week.
Right. Well, I can imagine that would definitely be a useful tool. So
Yeah, and I carry, I'll carry one in the car with me, have one at home, just in case I have an idea. Like if I have an idea, I find that I don't think up here, I like to think down on the paper.
Right. And for some reason, even when I heard that, I think, you've got iPads, you've got Kindles, you've got, Paperwhites, all these different things you can write on and save it to the cloud. Do you think having an over-reliance on the internet is a good thing nowadays or a bad thing? It's a tough question.
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, there's so much access to information and there's so much information that can be stored so easily and customers have some complaint or query and we look at an order that's 3 years old and we find out that the goods weren't delivered because we've got all of that in our system.
Right.
And like there was a guy like that yesterday, he had a credit which he then placed an order and then I didn't realise, but he never had the order delivered, and that was years ago.
Right.
And then he wanted to use his credit, not the order, and I felt a bit nervous about it. But then we looked back and we found that there was no record of a delivery. So it was what he said to me was true. And I mean, if you didn't have iCloud and things like that, you couldn't go back a couple of years and find that a particular order hadn't been delivered.
Yeah, so it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, there's a couple more things I want to see. So something I really want to see is your plants, like the plants you've actually created. I know you created the Box Oz, was that it?
Yeah.
Any others you've created?
My brother and I,
Is it here?
yeah, I think we've got him up here. My brother and I did the mop top.
Mop top.
Mop top, and the mop top is one of the biggest and most successful selling plants,
Right.
in the last decade. And my brother and I did the first ones, years ago, it was just an idea that we had. We had this funny little bushy robinia, and we talked about it. We thought if you got that and grafted it up on a stem and had a natural ball on a stick, people would go for it, and they did. I've sold tens of thousands, but the whole industry take off like a rocket. On Boxing Day onwards, people are on holidays, they're out gardening, and we're off like a rocket. And then there's the time just after Mother's Day through to 30th of June, that time there's another dead time. So there are 2 big dead times of the year.
Well, curiously, when you brought that up, because you brought up people going on holiday and stuff like that, do you find most of your customers, the customers that you deliver to, do you find they like to help you guys out when you're adding the plants to their garden, when you're building it out, or do you like that they just like to let the experts handle it?
I love interacting with people. So I like it when I get a customer that comes along and they're interested, and you're doing the garden design for them, and they say, "Look, I like this," and "Gee, that's a terrible idea," and you work with you, and it's much more interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. And I remember we brought up in the last podcast the more nitty-gritty details about the business. I wanted to make sure this is fun and exciting. So last time we spoke about how many deliveries you do a week, I believe, a month, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, one question I forgot to ask you: do you ever find it overwhelming to the point where it's too overwhelming? Personally?
No.
No, because you enjoy it, right?
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Exactly.
And what it is, like actually last week, for instance, our sales were absolutely booming, and Google changed their algorithm. And
tell me about it, man.
at any rate, and it cost me $50,000. And
is this the SEO algorithm? Or?
I don't know what the hell they changed. I don't even comprehend it, but they changed it, and it cost me $50,000 in sales.
Oh,
and that was with me standing there really working hard on getting the sales up while they were crashing. But what's interesting is that you could be overwhelmed by something like that, but from that I drew quite a few things. I drew that, first of all, I'm way over dependent on Google as a marketing tool. And so I decided that I'll start investing in other areas so that I'm not so dependent. And I know that the reason why Google doesn't love me as much as it should is my website.
Right.
And so we've got a new website underway, and we're going to push that a lot harder and get it out a lot quicker so that I get a bit more love from Google. So basically, so something negative.
Is that your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can it's all good.
So basically, instead of being upset and overwhelmed by my sales crash last week, I'm actually, and then also we're improving our sales leads handling at the same time, and our customer communications. And so this week we're doing really well, and Google still doesn't love me. So basically, all of those things. So I've actually used what happened bad last week as something positive. Like I'm working in 3 areas that'll make it a better business.
And that's important for a lot of entrepreneurs, correct?
Yeah.
Taking bad situations, turning them into positive ones.
Yeah, and the thing is, you could be crushed and upset by it, or you could utilize something like that, and that's basically and so that's why I tend not to get overwhelmed by things, because I think, well, how can I learn from this? How can I have a better future by learning and doing something with this?
Because you've got more overwhelmed than most. You've got families, not just yours, but other families that depend on you too, your employees.
Yeah.
So I know you said like you struggle to find things overwhelming because you work through it and make it positive. However, do you ever sympathize for your workers? And if they work too hard, do you ever think like, how can I change it around? Obviously that would be a priority for any business owner.
Yeah. I actually think, I don't think we work anybody too hard here, but some people work very, very hard. And I feel like nobody works as hard as I do.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. And particularly with the young ones, I think it's good for them.
Yeah.
I really do. I think it's good for them. I think I don't want to say it really, but in some ways I'm doing them a favour.
Yeah. Well, they need something to do, as you said, like university and school and everything, it's good, right? And you need it to grow, you need to learn how to learn. But I feel like physical labor is extremely important to build a unconquerable mindset. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you were always in, again, going back to the podcast I did before, you were always in labor, correct? You were always in actual like hands on the tools.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, let's look at your hands right now. You got rough hands. Yeah. Look, go to the camera. Look at this. Look at this. That's a man right there. Right? Yeah, but the point we're trying to bring back is that hard work you're talking about, that gave you an unstoppable drive, would you say?
Yes.
Or did you have that before the hard work?
I might have been born with it, because I just remember my first business thing was when I dragged a big box of daffodils, maybe half a kilometre up to the road, and it was a big heavy box, and I was maybe 7, and nobody ever even imagined that I could do it, but I did it.
And you sold them all like that.
Yeah, and I've always had that real drive, and in a way, my physical ability has been a slight setback for me, because I always had this. I'm a very strong person physically, and I've always been able to do things and not use my brains as much as I ought to. Like I think, bugger, I'll just do that.
Yeah.
And so I often think if I hadn't have been quite so strong, I might have been a bit smarter.
And would you, as you said, if you would have been, less strong, you would have been smarter, as you said. Would you want to have been less strong?
No.
Now that you reflect, exactly. So what are we complaining about? Let's see your favorite plant. I really want to see it.
Let's have a look. Here we are. Check this out.
Right. And remind me the name of this one.
This is called Miss Muffet. It's a Japanese Batosrum.
Where'd you find this one? How'd you sling this up?
Look, it's just something that you'll see this a lot at the moment in the good garden design books.
Yeah.
Very scarce, very hard to get. Victoria's virtually sold out. I'm shipping them down from New South Wales at the moment.
Oh, you are?
And
jeez, my hometown.
Yeah, so lovely little plant, and these beautiful creamy fragrant flowers in springtime.
Fragrant as well, right?
Yeah. Not now,
in the
but
springtime,
in
autumn.
Yeah.
It's autumn right now, isn't it?
But it's
beautiful.
It's a tree that a plant that just makes a lovely little, and it loves to be trimmed, and you can make a beautiful sort of little low spreading clump out of it.
Yeah. Okay. So if you were to introduce this plant to a new client, what would be the ideal client for this plant? Ideal garden, ideal location.
A lot of people are asking me for a sort of a coastal look, and this one here, combined with some nice soft grasses and sort of blues and greys and things like that, looks really, really nice and spread out nicely.
Last time you mentioned a box or something soft that you saw in someone else's garden that you created the Aussie box from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would it combine with that?
No.
Yeah.
The Aussie box, much denser, a whole different style. The Aussie box is really good for topiary and for little hedges and things like that.
Okay. Now I have one more question related to the plant business. What's the hold on one sec. Do you want to come through? I've cut it. Come through. Yeah. No worries. It's all good. It's very casual. I'll put this back for you. I think, well, going back to that point, I think staff selection is incredibly important to any client. And with you, hiring is really difficult, I would imagine, right? Especially for, like, I work with a lot of restaurants and bars, and they're having trouble. So a place like this, we have to do hard labor, hard work, but the payoff is good and the reward is good. How are you actually getting staff?
Advertising,
right?
And with the Nepalese people, we keep and I've got some. I really done very well with Nepalese and with Sikh Indians, and most of the Sikhs come off farms, and they're good drivers and hard workers, very strong people.
Yeah.
And I get them to ask their friends.
Right.
So
referrals.
Yeah, most of the Sikhs and the Nepalese are through friends and referrals.
Because you're a good man, Chris, and you provide a good place to work. And if I wasn't already shackled to the advertising world, I'd be working here as well. Right.
The silliest thing that I've done is my dad came back from doing some horticultural work in New Zealand, and he said, oh, Chris, they're selling millions of Leighton's green cypress over there. At any rate, so I set up with another chap, and we grew Leighton's green, and I spent, for quite a few years, I used to spend $20,000 or $30,000 back when you could probably buy a house for that, $20,000 or $30,000 a year on promoting Leighton's green cypress.
Right.
And I was selling them like crazy, and I was having the easiest life in the world. These things just sold like bloody crazy. Farmers come and buy 100, 200, 500, and I had a guy growing them for me, and he used to offload them into a spot, and customers would take them off the spot, and that was it.
So what's the process of actually creating a plant? Like, obviously when you invent something,
but what I did wrong, and that was probably the biggest mistake I ever made, is that they were called Leighton's Green, and I called them Leighton's Green.
Right.
So that I didn't, and then one day, one day I just stopped selling them because what happened is somebody realised how well I was doing and that they undercut me on price and put them in every supermarket in the country of Victoria, and so whereas if I had a trademark the name, so now when I invent or come up with something, I'll trademark it so that other people can't sell they can't copy and sell my exact product.
Yeah, that's what I was interested in. A lot of people seem to do that, and and with services as well, the same thing. And it's like anytime you introduce a service as a business, for example, as an advertising group, people copy it, people rip it, and they rip your text, and really there's not much you can do to copyright it besides standard copyright.
But my most successful trademarking is Neighbours Be Gone.
Neighbours Be Gone. I've seen this ad. Yeah, the whole, and I'm nude.
Hello, it's Chris.
Where are you?
Here.
Where?
Behind the Neighbours Be Gone. And I'm nude.
Thank goodness for Neighbours Be Gone.
Neighbours Be Gones are easy to grow. They're tough. They grow up to 6 foot a year and they block out the neighbours in no time.
Let me have a trim of that hedge. Perfect if you want to block out a 2-storied house or nosy neighbours.
They're so thick you can run around in a nude. Nude up in your own backyard with 5 Neighbours Be Gone since 1990.
Neighbours Be Gone, visit us at Peter Murray.
That one?
Yeah.
Is that here?
Yeah, we've got Neighbours Be Gone.
Let's go take a look.
Yeah. So my most successful campaign was Neighbours Be Gone.
Right.
And it was, and how that came about is a guy just told me, I was looking at I was trying to find out about lily pillies because I wanted to sell lily pillies.
Right.
And he said, I call them in Neighbours Be Gone trees. I said, yeah. I said, really? And he said, yeah. He said, they grow so thick and bushy, you can run around nude in your own backyard. And I said, yeah, really? And he said, yeah. He said, in fact, they're so bushy you can't even hear the neighbour's dog. I said, really? He said, nah, just pulling your leg. And at any rate, we just basically made that into an ad.
It's one of the best ads I've seen.
And people loved it. It was, and we didn't.
And when were you running these ads, if you don't mind me asking? Like what time frame? 90s, 80s, 2000s?
Early 2000s. So I think about 2004, 2005 I was running Neighbours Be Gone.
Right. Expensive campaign to run?
It was back then. Like to run a campaign back then on TV, you were spending, and without going too crazy, you were spending $10,000 or $15,000.
Yeah. Back then
a week.
as well.
Yeah. Which, if you take that, then these are your Neighbours Be Gone here.
Yeah. So they grow big, right?
They grow, if you treat them right, plenty of water, plenty of fertiliser, they grow fast and they grow big.
What's the best fertiliser for this plant specifically?
Probably something like Osmocote.
Osmocote?
Osmocote is a little coated pellet.
Right.
And what's good about it is that the fertiliser, a lot of fertilisers give you a quick hit and then they disappear, so that the plant sort of has too much and then it has too little. Whereas Osmocote gives you this constant trickle of fertiliser for a few months.
Yeah.
And that means that the plant's got fertiliser. If you put if you planted these and put Osmocote on every 6 weeks, they'd have a constant flow of fertiliser.
So it's like a difference between like rapid Panadol Antifast and like just regular Panadol.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
cool.
Right,
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I would love to one day see your personal farm, right? Because I know you have had a chance to actually enjoy the farm that you just purchased?
Not much.
Right?
Not much.
But I imagine the garden there is going to be pretty crazy.
I spent one day in there. I spent one day there in the last month.
Yeah.
And my partner's been up there working away. She had a list of jobs he couldn't believe. So I rolled out of bed first thing in the morning, and by the time it got dark, I could barely walk.
Oh my God.
But I loved it. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
We were clearing up fallen limbs and clearing out weeds, and I sprayed a heap of weeds, and it was great fun.
Like a well-oiled machine, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Someone like me, like I'm not new to it. Like I'll figure it out, But I would imagine you would be just well-oiled and you know exactly what to do. But you have a lot on your mind. So how do you pick what's more important to do at whatever time?
What I found actually is that I just made I worked out the importance of everything that I had to do. Like I had one of the main things is that I'd gone a month too late. There's some noxious weeds there, and every year for the last 2 years I've been right on top of them. I've nearly wiped them out, and I knew that I was a bit on the late side for doing it. So I had a quick inspection, and that was the number one priority job, was to knock out these noxious weeds, because if I let them go for a season, then they'll cover the farm. And so I prioritised everything, and I just went from one to the other. And what was great is I actually forgot about this place. I forgot there was so much to do, and it was also difficult and hard. But
you were also happy as well, right?
Yeah, I was really happy. Yeah. But it was also difficult and hard that I just went from one job to the next and hardly thought about. I was going to make a couple of phone calls and do a little bit of business that day while I was working, but in the end, I never did any business.
But I look at you, Chris, and I don't see a person who can kick back, yacht, nice, old-fashioned in the hand, nice view. I don't see you kicking back. I feel like you're the type of person that would, if work stopped, if hello stopped, if you stopped working, you would lose it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's keep going. Let's keep walking through. Wrap it up. Thanks for taking the time, by the way.
Yeah, no worries. It's great. I enjoy it.
Yeah, likewise. Awesome. And I'd imagine you also could be quite relaxed here as well when everyone's out of the building, right?
Yeah, I enjoy coming in here early in the morning and going through the place and making a list of things that need doing and working out what to do,
Yeah. And another question, when you arrive home at whatever time, right, are you the type of person to, keep working, or do you just crash?
No, it's over. By the time I get home, that's enough. By the time I get home, like I often have my notepad there ready to have an idea or something, and I get home and I can't even have an idea.
Yeah, well, I imagine the bed must be quite comfortable.
Yeah, it is. It's
exactly.
wonderful, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, is there anything else you want to cover specifically?
Not really, no.
Not really? We've covered most of it.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah, cool.
It was a fantastic evening.
Thank you very
I really
much.
enjoyed
Thanks
this.
for your time.
And thank you for taking your time out of the day to see me as well. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, guys, you can find this podcast, the full clip, all over Spotify. If you look up the Flight Path podcast by Bhimian, hosted by Tom Barclay with Chris Lucas, you can find all the information there, as well as every single other podcast we've done, including the one we did with Chris last time, which talked about entrepreneurship and genuine actionable steps you can take to build the life you've always dreamed of. Okay, my name's Tom, this is Chris. Thanks again for watching the Flight Path podcast.
Thanks a lot.